everybody. How you doing? All right. Cameras are good. Cool.
All right, let's get rocking. So today, for us, is like a Wednesday, our competition Wednesday. And then we just flip tomorrow and today. So for the players from their off day. But this day is where it comes together for us. We fully kick it off. The preparation, the learning, the specific parts of the game plan, all of that begins. And each week there's a lot of learning that goes into that plan, that matchup, any special checks. So there's no shortcuts to that and a big responsibility to get right. So it's all hands on deck. Jog through pace today, and I'll have some more injury updates later in the week on Thursday and Friday because today's as a jog through portion, and we still got a few guys that I'll have a better sense once I get Thursday afternoon. So all that said, let's get rocking with you guys.
What specifically have you learned about Cliff Kingsbury?
A lot. Coming in, I knew, kind of the background of Cliff, and, we'd known each other from a football perspective. I think I fully found out what a competitor he is. Like that, I think, is at the core of really who he is, because he comes across in a quiet demeanor externally, but this is a really driven person. And so that part of the competitive nature, like you see it sometimes in his play calling, there's some like a good anger to it at times. And so I think I found out like this is a real competitor. And so loves to attack, as we would know, but then he gets full support, and I appreciate that. So I didn't think it wasn't going to happen, but I did learn that. For somebody that sat in the chair, he's got, perspective to see things and, give insights. And so I appreciate that about him for sure.
When you talk about competitors, where have you seen that most? Does something stand out with that? Is there one moment?
The competitive moments in practice for sure, where it's offense against defense. It could be game days. And so those are the times when it's usually the most intense. And I really like that about him. And so the ones where, like, every Wednesday and Thursday, we usually have an offense versus a defense competition of some sort. And, I know that's his favorite practice, parts of the week. So it's pretty clear.
Bobby Wagner obviously does a lot for you guys in the way you can see the game. Is there a moment for this year, a specific play where, whether it's a call or a tackle or that you saw or something that stands out to you as to, kind of show what he's all about?
There's actually one today, Ben, and I was sitting in the team meeting room next to Jeremy Reeves, and on Wednesdays, which is today, we do tackling and breaking tackles. And so Larry Izzo and Brian Johnson present to the team that day. And so Larry on this one for Christmas did like a highlight of the season. And so different styles of tackles, one-man tackles, tracking. We have different techniques that we call them all. And as I was sitting next to Jeremy Reeves, I said, look at this shit. And it was the body position, the squareness of him, the wrapping. And I said, this is amazing. And so he must have been on, if there were 100 clips of people, like there was 54. And I think it's a reminder of like how square really excellent tackles are. And so you can see somebody's shoulder turn, and he could just have this way that he's plays square and can cover ground laterally. And Revo and I were just sitting there, and I said, man, this is pretty cool. And so he was just on there a lot. It wasn't by any one, like, oh, I'm going to make a highlight tape of Bobby. It was just him being him. So I think, as funny as that sounds, Ben, it actually happened this morning with just the amount of tackling that took place, because it went from all the way from the opening game all the way through. And so it had a lot of players in it, but he was on there a lot, as you might imagine.
Yeah. And on a different injury topic, this would be the last week for Austin Eckler to have to be out on our. Any sense for where he had his recovery, and if it's possible for him?
Absolutely possible. Yeah. So Austin is definitely trending in the right way. Workouts going great. He's in meetings. He's, doing all the stuff with us. So, we're certainly, optimistic, and we'll just play the whole thing out. But like you said, this is the earliest that he could be would begin next week. But it's been encouraging to see the progress that he's made.
I know he asked you yesterday about the run game. Just as you guys have delved deeper into the film and kind of what's going on in the last couple weeks, what have been some of your takeaways on what needs to
Yeah, in fact, we had that same discussion today, Nikki, and I think going into it, I even had this talk with the guys. We've got a smart crew, and so the pass protection, the blitz pickups, I think is good. I said I want to make sure don't miss the aggressive part of it. Of thinking to this, what could happen here, what could happen there. Like, let's make sure we're sprinting off the ball into our contact. And so that was the message I wanted to give, because these are sharp guys. If this guy aligns here, do we want to check to this guy? I said sometimes guys make the mistake, make it full speed. If they do something different, that's okay. And so I want to make sure that's what we see this weekend, just that type of commitment off the ball. They're tough, they're physical. I said, don't overthink this thing, man. Like, we all have a tendency in anything to do that. Let's make sure like they feel our pads, our physicality, and that to me was as much as anything. We've got a good scheme. We know how to run. We use the quarterback. We, carry out fakes. It's difficult. Don't miss the top of the pile. That's the effort and the finishing and the hitting. And so, this is not to be taken too scientifically. Let's make sure, we follow our pads in this game.
When Jonathan Allen can come back, how much does that change things for you guys up front?
Well, we're certainly looking forward to it, because we know the caliber of John, what he can bring. And so anytime you can add a player of his caliber to it, pass rush, just experience also. He's strong, he's tough. So when that does happen, that'll be something that will definitely, bring energy to our defense as well. Much like we, kind of added Marshawn into that space as well, where you just add guys into it. Different for John because he was here, but the same effect in a lot of ways.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach.
Good afternoon.
We spent all season talking about veteran leadership in your locker room and how impactful that can be from the beginning of forming the team all the way to now. As you guys enter into this window to potentially clinch a playoff spot, look forward to postseason football, does that context of the reality change what you need from those veteran leaders?
No. And the reason I say that quickly, they've been leaned on in such a significant way of standards and example. And the thing that's been fun to see, honestly, is the other leaders now that have emerged because of their willingness to share insights and to share ideas. And so, like, Mike Sainristil is a full-on leader now. And so that's a good thing. Jaden is a full-on leader here as a first-year player. So it's hard to lead early. You have to prove it. You have to be dependable. You got to, be responsible for how you can do things, and you have to do what you say you're going to do. And so in those instances, guys like that have emerged in that way. And so there's a number of others, but in specifically, from a rookie class, those two have absolutely stood up to me. I feel like Percy Butler on the special teams side has done that. Jeremy Chin, has done that. I see the communication that he now is trying to give to the corners and the communication. And when that happens, the other players, man, they feel that. Like, Jeremy will help me better by the way he communicates. We'd all like to play with people. Hey, Dan, look out for this. Like, that's a good thing. And so for a new player like Marshawn or anybody really to come in, like, those leading moments, they help. And so to see some of the leadership develop from within, that is what makes me most proud, knowing that it doesn't have to come from me. I give a look or a signal to go, and I know that if I get a message to one person, it'll get to the rest of the team by the end of the drill. And so they're all on the same page here, so I like that a lot.
You mentioned Jaden's development as a leader. This is actually my follow-up. You guys had a very concerted effort to not force him to wear the cape super early.
Yep.
And allow him to kind of just grow naturally.
Yep.
What are some of the kind of the evidence points you can point to now to where you said that was the exact right approach to this?
Well, first, it's what we stand for. If we're going to have competition as the central theme of the program, then I think it would be counterproductive to say everybody else compete, but you've already got it. I think that would be the wrong message to send when you're trying to establish, some standards that you want to do as a program that's developing. It did it by his work first, and then after that, I think the moments in the game, the guys just, came to lean on him, trust on him, knowing that, he does what he says he's going to do. Not to say that every, game is perfect, but they have a lot of belief in him. And I think belief's a really powerful thing, because it's that bridge that goes from the gap that says wanting to win to knowing you're going to win. And that's powerful. And so I think Jaden helped that bridge where you're hopeful, you want to we're going to. And so if you've ever been on a team that you know you're going to, man, that feels a lot different. And so his confidence is a big part of that, and his humility is a big part of that, because of all the accolades and the things and the attention that he gets, he's deferral. He doesn't do that, and I think the players recognize that as well. Early on, I was worried about, as much as you guys would talk about him and watch him at practice, I said, shit, we could have the other 70 guys doing something else. They wouldn't even know. But I also knew, I found out, this is a pretty special guy. You know, he already came in with a very mature sense about him. He'd been through some good, strong life experiences, but it was the humility and confidence that probably separated himself to be able to lead. Because I think if you do it beforehand, it's not authentic. If you anoint somebody as a leader and they're not, it's bullshit. And so the players know that. These guys have been bullshitted their whole life as great players coming up, and so they see through it way faster than anybody else. So if I had done that to them, they said, man, you're not real. And so I wanted to make sure that I stay consistent with that too. And so, but I also don't want to not allow him to fully develop into a leader. He is now. So there's no need for me to guard him from any of that. Like, they trust him. They have belief in him.
Hey, Coach, 3 more.
You're at the home stretch of the season now. When you look back at the training camp, when you laid out your blueprint, have you seen pretty much mostly everything that you envisioned at this stage of the season?
Yeah, I would say I don't think back that far, but it's a great question. The part from training camp, I wanted to make sure, and you probably heard me say it a lot, is our identity. And I think that still grows as you're going. I think as we're getting into the second half of the season now, you never want to lose that. Once you have it, can it stay connected? Can you stay, fully engaged to how we play, the speed, the physicality, those things that are so important to who we are? I've been pleased to see that stay consistent, because if you go like this, you don't really have one. And so that part I've been pleased with. To see the team really get connected fast, I would say that even surpassed my expectations. I hoped that would happen. Somebody made the comment, we had our team Christmas party the other night, and they said it was less like an office party and more like just a party with your friends. And that made me feel good to know that they've connected on a deeper level than, just people that work together. Like, they enjoy spending time together, and I think that type of love they have carries over onto the field, because they are, playing for something bigger than themselves, which some people think you can't do in pro ball. And I would say, I'm saying the other way. I think you can.
And receiver-wise, when Noah Brown went down, it was like, who will be the guys that step up? When last week, when you saw Crowder and OZ step up, what did you see from them, in moving forward and preparing for Atlanta this week?
Yeah, because I thought Diami, big ball, as one, and then JC and OZ. Like, OZ, I kind of thought that he's such a competitor that other people, I think, have competed harder since he's been here from the off season, because like his standard of going, like the Lukes and them, they don't want to not keep up with him. So I anticipated him having, but JC, had the hardest road back because of the injury, and I think he showed a lot of grit to say it's hard to be in IR and not playing. And so to stay in it, and then when your number's called to go deliver, I think that's a big deal. But all 3 of them, I thought, made some impactful plays. But certainly the scores by OZ and JC were there. But Diami also had a couple, a deep ball that I thought, like, we feel his speed. So to connect on that, because quite often a lot of those go to Terry. And so to him, have the connection on the deep ball, I thought that was big.
Got the walkthrough starting in 7 minutes, the last one.
Oh, let's go past her. We'll go to something. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Coach, looking ahead to the Falcons, that's the team that's made a quarterback change. So what have you seen and observed from Michael Penix Jr.?
Yep. I think coming into it, Candy, through the draft process, he was actually here and had a visit with us during the spring as well. You found out this is a rare competitor. We knew his path, from college to Indiana and out to UW, and he had just a fantastic year. Even though they lost, I would say the game against Michigan, where he just stood in and over. I thought, man, is this guy tough? Like we hadn't even looked at him yet, but it captured me into that spot. And so going into the whole process, you knew this was a talented guy. He could deliver, he could process quickly. And so his way of playing is different than our way of playing, where, you know, we move Jaden a lot to do that, where Michael's more in the traditional way, strong arm, can rip it to anywhere. So those were the things, you know, we saw in the draft process. And then limited stuff during the preseason. We saw some, and then, you know, a full-on game last week, and you saw that arm talent and the strength come through full-on. All right, thanks, guys. I will see you Thursday.